And Sheriff Donny Youngblood to talk more about the impact COVID-19 is having not only here in Kern County, but also how the Sheriff's Office is preparing. Sheriff Youngblood, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
Okay, so there are a lot of concerns, of course, across the nation, but also here in Kern County as well. Let's reiterate, there are no cases of the coronavirus here in Kern. It is getting closer. Tulare County announcing yesterday that they are seeing their first case on the coronavirus. How is your office preparing for this pandemic?
Yeah, we know it's coming. We know that we're going to have cases in Kern. I've met with the 58 sheriffs by phone. We're talking about policies and plans that we have in place and trying to get the best plan for the county. I'm also in contact with each of the chiefs of the police in Kern County. Because this could impact a small police department where they would be out of business. They could have the whole department could get the virus. So we're planning on how we can interact better with each other and fill in for each other if this hits our police departments so hard. We also have the jails. That's a big concern. These people have to get to court. They have constitutional rights. If we get one in the jail, we have to isolate. The employees might have to stay there for the 14-day period. So this is a big issue that we're dealing with, but I think we're ahead of it in Kern County.
Well, since you brought it up, let's talk about what happens if someone is a criminal is brought to court. And criminals are, of course, suspects have the right of a fair and speedy trial. How could this impact a court case?
We have the ability to toll cases. I was talking to Cindy Zimmer the other day, and we have the ability to toll cases that, in the case of an emergency, if someone gets the virus and needs to be isolated. So we're going to be able to deal with it, but it's going to be intensive. Employees that get it, that's where, that's my first concern is the safety of my employees, and we're working to make sure that they're as safe as we possibly can make them, and the community as safe as we possibly can. I can't emphasize enough that we shouldn't panic over this. You're seeing a lot of panic throughout the nation, throughout the state, and even the county with shopping. This is not something we should panic over. It's going to come through. Some people are going to get sick, and it'll move on. It's just it's going to take time.
So what happens if it gets into the jail? What happens if there is someone in the jail that tests positive for coronavirus? What happens next?
Yeah, we have an empty jail facility, totally empty, that we can use for isolation. It requires staff to go in and be with these people, to feed them and to move them, allow them to get outside for a short period of time. So it is staff intensive, but we'll be able to do that. It may require early release of some people that we don't want to release yet. But these are extraordinary times, and will require extraordinary measures from our leaders in our county and our state to get through this.
Now, the CDCR announced yesterday that they are canceling all visits to prisons and visitors coming to prisons to visit. What are the plans for Lerdo? Are there any changes coming?
Well, there very well could be, depending on how this virus goes. We know the governor issued a statement last night asking to not have any events where there's over 250 people, and that number could get smaller. We had a state sheriff's meeting that was set for Santa Cruz in 2 weeks. We've canceled that. We're going to do it all by telephone and by video conferencing. We had Kern Chiefs meeting that was supposed to be at the coast. We've canceled that. So we're trying to stay in the county, stay engaged, and stay ahead of this virus.
What happens if, you talk about first responders, and they're responding to people all over this county in emergency situations. What happens if a deputy responds to an incident where someone does test positive for coronavirus? Is this something that could impact the rest of your office?
Yeah, it certainly could, and that's what I was talking about with a small police department. If they respond to a call, or we do, and we come in contact with someone with the virus and become contaminated, then that person has to be isolated, and we'll have to replace them with staff. So we're going to work together. It might require us handling calls in Taft or Ridgecrest or Arvin in the city response area, and it may require them to help us conversely. So we're prepared for it. We're planning for it the best that we can.
All right, and finally, I do have to bring this up because you teamed up with Public Health yesterday, and you were talking about, discouraging handshaking and going to fist bumping. And I believe we have video of this showing the sheriff explaining this is what a fist bump looks like. I think you're an expert fist bumper.
I wouldn't call it an expert, but I got conned into it by Michelle Corson, and you know, it's not comical, but the handshake is something that we just do naturally, and we're just asking people not to handshake. You know, wash your hands at 20 seconds after you use the restroom. That, you know, we can only do what we can do, and the virus is going to run its course, but we can minimize the impact, and that's the intent of that video. Whether it's the coronavirus, the flu, or just anything else, it's just good hygiene. And I owe Michelle and Bren for sure. All right, thanks so much, Sheriff, for coming in this morning. Really do appreciate it. My pleasure.